This is the album that we'll be making today. It's a waterfall album, and I've used a beautiful U image on the front. So I've stamped the image with Night of Navy ink, and then I've just used an aqua painter brush to pull the ink from the image and colour it lightly to create this watercolour effect. Now if I just show you inside the actual album, which has got 4 flaps. Each one has got pattern paper layered, and when you do the pulley system, there's a blank side here that you could use for journaling. And then on the opposite side, I've just created a little pocket with some journaling cards in it as well. Really, the mechanism is the main feature of the video today. Sorry, I'm a little bit croaky, and there's a bit of a storm going on outside, so hopefully we won't pick up too much of that on the video. So, what you're going to need, the actual front cover is a piece of cardstock. It was A4 and I've cut it in half. So what I'll do is I'll score that in the centre to create the front cover. I'm going to use my score tool, and I'm going to just score it at 5 3/4, which is halfway. Fold it in half, and that's created the cover. You can round off the corners if you like. So this is the front cover, and I can put that to one side. You're going to need a 2-inch wide strip. Again, this is just cut from an A4 sheet, and we're going to trim this and use the scallop tag topper punch to create an end, but we can do that once we've actually got it all fixed in the album, so that you can trim it to the exact size that you need. So what we're going to do is we're going to make this style mechanism here. Okay, and that will actually just fit inside your little front cover. Now to make the mechanism, you'll need your 2-inch long strip, and you will need 4 pieces of cardstock that are 3.5 by 3.5. And what you're going to do is you're going to take your long strip. So I'm going to get the scoreboard. Can you see that? Yep. And we're going to score it at 2 inches, 2.5, 3, and 3.5. So that was scored at 2, 2.5, 3, and 3.5. And that's all there is to that. And so if I can show you, we've now got, if I just fold and lightly burnish with my fingers, you've now created the mechanism. So we've got 1, 2, 3 smaller areas here that we've created with our scores, and then 1 larger flap at the end. And what we need to do is we need to cover them with sticky strip. So you can use red tape, or if you have a strong white double-sided sticky tape, that's fine too. I wouldn't really suggest using wet glue. I would say definitely for this it would be sticky strip. So I've just mocked up this sample to show you. So I put a line of sticky strip in there between the 2 score lines. You mustn't put any glue or adhesive on the actual score lines. You're putting a single strip down between each of those areas, and then the last larger flap you can completely cover with the sticky. Okay. So to make the mechanism, I'm going to take the first piece of card and I'm going to line it up. I've removed the sticky strip on this first flap, and I'm going to line the edge of the card up along the edge of this first score line, and I want to make sure that there's the same amount of card top and bottom. So I'm just using the grid paper as a guide, and looks like 4 squares at the top and 4 squares at the bottom. So I shall put that in place. So that's the first flap, and then I'm going to remove the second piece here of the sticky strip that's in this next scored panel, and then I will just use the bottom card that I've already stuck as my guide, and I'll layer that on top, and again I've lined it up against this score line, and then I'm going to continue to do that with each of the flaps, lining them up to the score line and using the base card as a guide. There we are. It's the third one, and finally the last one. I'll glue that in place, and that's going to fold under, and that's your mechanism now. And what will happen is that will be glued inside your cover like so. So what I need to do is I need to put some sticky strip just on these 2 sides here, and you have to be really careful because it's just on here and here that the sticky strip is going to go. So I'm just going to take a small, probably about an inch or so of sticky strip, it will be fine, and I'm just going to peel that back. It's going to be stuck inside like so, so just on those 2 bits, and then when you pull your mechanism, your waterfall album works like so. So what we're going to do now is we're going to just trim, basically I think it's about 2 centimeters I need to trim it to, so I'm just going to make a little score mark there. Count 1, 2, 3, 4 squares there, just make a little mark, and I'm going to just trim that off camera, and then I'm going to pull it out and we've created our fancy end, and now I can add a bit of ribbon and we will have finished our waterfall. And that's just loose, it's only glued on those 2 places so that the mechanism can work, and by doing it a few times you'll get all the folds in the right place and it'll make it a smooth operation. And then you can just add your pocket on the other side, and then that's your album complete. Obviously if you wanted to add your paper layers, maybe some journaling cards, you can do that as well. Thank you. If we do it on the very vanilla card, again I'm just going to stamp the image straight on the very vanilla card, and then I'm just going to pick up ink. Now this will create a much lighter image, and I really don't want to be adding too much water because it will start to break down the fibres in the card, and you'll get maybe lifting and maybe tearing of the paper, because it isn't designed as water paper, but it can tolerate a small amount, just to give a like a watercolor washed effect, and you still get that lovely colour there. Don't forget the shadow at the bottom. So that's that one. And with the watercolor image you can go quite a bit darker. And then we'll just layer that on the front of the album like I've done here. Watercolor, it's a lot more tolerant, and you can add a lot more colour and water onto the paper, and it won't tear or start to break down. So you can get a much heavier and darker effect using the watercolour card, and you can add a lot more colour. I'm actually dragging just a lot of the ink from the original stamped image there. Okay, and don't forget the little shadow there, don't forget that little shadow at the bottom.